Hey Doc, how you doing?
I am doing great, Greg. Interesting topic of discussion we started talking about today. So I'd like you to lead off because you were kind of the one that introduced me to the particular product line. But I've worked with this kind of an issue as a challenge to people's health for a while. And it's somewhat of a taboo. People don't like to talk about it.
Absolutely. So, as we were talking about before, I was randomly scrolling through TikTok, purely for social media marketing purposes, of course. And I saw these videos where people were talking about parasites and deworming, which is a
Mm.
very, as you said, taboo subject in America. You know, we are under the impression that we're a first world country. That sort of thing doesn't happen here. That's kind of bullshit. So, I was thinking, and that got me thinking. I've eaten a lot of questionable street meat in New York City over the years, amongst other things, and I'm kind of worried. So I was like, what the heck? Why don't I try this out? So put in an order. These guys were back ordered for 2 to 3 weeks. Got it 2 weeks later, and let's just say on day two, some interesting things came out of the toilet brush. I was both horrified and relieved. I was like, well, that fixes that. And
Amazing, right? You say, did that come out of me? Oh my God.
a friggin' a tapeworm amongst other things, and other people, I feel fortunate have had reading the Amazon reviews, much more horrifying experiences, coming out of their throat, their skin, getting
Jeez.
these flukes thing come out of their nose. But I'll say this much, I had after reading more and more about it, I realized that I had all these symptoms that I was just sucking up over the years between grinding teeth, bad sleep patterns, low energy. All this stuff
Yeah.
was cured. It's like a friggin' miracle. I've been dealing with this for the past 15 years.
All right. Yeah, I see the commonality of these things. People, I just think they take, it's diet, it's stress. I ate too fast. I ate the wrong things, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation. I mean, the biggest thing today is IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. People just look at the kind of lifestyles that they have and the way, I'm going to inhale my food in 5 minutes in between two phone calls, or I'm going to eat something that doesn't really react well with me, the fried foods or the heavy fiber product or the vegetable that I'm not used to eating, onions, garlic, some blah, 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 and or drinking a bunch of carbonated beverages. So they just kind of chalk it up to being a normal thing. But, the aspect of parasites in the human body are pretty common and not always easily detectable, and sometimes creating ongoing chronic situations of like chronic fatigue and anemias associated with the body and the malnutrition issues. And it gets even much worse because a lot of it deals with, very interestingly, the high capacity of metals that are in the environment and that get into our bodies. We've heard about aluminum toxicity has led to Alzheimer's disease, but it's in a lot of the products or cookware. It used to be aluminum chlorhydrate in a lot of underarm deodorants and antiperspirants. That's really the antiperspirant. Cadmium from the a lot of the corporate companies using and spewing things into the environment, as well as high amounts of lead, and as we said before, mercury, even in as uses a preservative in vaccines, which is a big thing going on today. So people have been getting exposed to heavy metal toxicities for a long period of time. Cadmium in the cigarette butts, the actual filter portion of cigarettes, and people have been smoking their brains out for years. So these things get into the body, and guess what? The parasites love to eat metals, and they start to localize and go into the body. We've picked it up in areas such as not only the GI tract, but in people's hearts and kidneys and things of that nature. And we take a course of natural remediation. In other words, using some of these botanical based, herbal based products, because it's pretty heavy duty to go through some of these things to treat it from a pharmaceutical standpoint, and it's sometimes even challenging with herbal ones, but a lot safer. So that could be the first line of defense sometimes in treating things, because once we call it's kind of innocuous sometimes to even come up with the appropriate diagnosis. But at least these natural products like this one from Long Island, the Paragard, it's a great emetic, is good digestant, so on and so forth. All the stuff that's in there is pretty healthy for you for the most part. So it's definitely worth something looking into.
Well, I'm looking at the label right now. It says it contains fennel seed, marshmallow root, walnut hull, pumpkin seed, slippery
Mm-hmm.
elm bark, wormwood herb, clove bud, garlic bulb, oregano leaf oil, and peppermint oil. Is this going to
Right.
kill
So
anybody?
at least five of the things most people are pretty familiar with, and it's just part of their regular food and condiments and spice rack, you know? So, we know that pumpkin seed especially is great for the prostate. It's loaded with zinc and it's like a good fiber source. It's got a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, and oregano has been used for years as a flavor, and it's all different types. And, between the Italians and the Greeks, it was used constantly in food. And it is a great anti-parasitic in and of itself. And it's pretty powerful stuff. You have to be careful with, because it can really give you some suffering in the regards to the bathroom effect. So I like this product, Paragon. I think it's safe and effective, and we're going to start using it in our own practice as well. And I think it can help a lot of people with a lot of different health challenges that they either just chalk up to being part of the living in this COVID-ridden 21st century, socialized, restricted, now hopefully coming back to reality situation. But it's been rough for about a year and a half. It's really had a dramatic effect on people's lives. So now more than ever, once again, focus more on a holistic approach, a natural approach to dealing with your health situation. Of course, utilize the appropriate medical care when necessary, but get responsible for your own health, and start taking better care of your bodies.
So what's interesting about this stuff is, in our discussions and dealing with people, everyone wants a quick fix. And ironically, this is a quick fix that's low effort. So here you go. You don't have to change your diet. You don't have to do anything different. Just take it regularly. And it works. Amazing.
Right. Yeah. And, of course, too, obviously, if people are doing things that are somewhat detrimental to their body, it's based upon the level. Once again, too, I mean, having a little bit of something is not the worst thing in the world, but when you're pounding it down on a regular basis, it becomes an issue and a challenge. So, definitely something to look into. Sounds like a product worthwhile, and adding to the regime of doing something to improve your person's health.
So this is going to be a part. This is part one. We're going to have a part two, because you have a bottle on the way, and you'll find out for yourself what's going on in your gut.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, many of the things that are the constituents that are in the product itself, I've utilized before in treating patients for issues associated with parasitic type effects going on within their body. But I like this particular formula. I think it can be very safe and effective. And obviously you've had some outstanding benefits from it, and the people that you've consulted and talked about too. So yeah, definitely something worthwhile bringing into, as a natural form of healthcare, and dealing with something that is somewhat of a stigma, but needs to be addressed if people are going to be healthy and stay healthy.
Oh yeah. My mind is blown. I, prior to this, had gone to a GI specialist. They ran 20 different tests, took a stool sample, all blood work, all inconclusive, zero help. And then here we go. This fixed everything.
And I have to, and I have to address that as an important factor. I mean, we have these diagnostic procedures to help us, and improve the quality of people's care, and also but many of the times the information is not always as accurate as we think, and you have to put it together with the gut level horse sense of a familiarized practitioner dealing with people, knowing what different things. In other words, we have to use tests, but we also have to use knowledge and clinical assessment to really make the appropriate, diagnostic assessment of a person, because a lot of these tests miss things all the time. And we've seen that over and over again when dealing with hormonal imbalances and gut issues. And you see even some autoimmune reactions too from different things that are going on. So yeah, there are other ways to looking at this than the typical just, blood work or MRI or CT or PET scan. But these are all incredible tools and things that we have to utilize. But, what I'm saying is that you got to dig for answers deeper sometimes when there's a problem and this information doesn't come up to be as credible as we need to based upon testing. So
sure,
by all means. All right, Greg. Well, thank you so much for inviting me on board today. And as we said, we'll do a part two, and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. And just real quick to end, the doc is an incredibly knowledgeable person, and we unpacked like 4 or 5 topics that could be spoken about for hours on end. And we will get to that in other parts, the metals in your water. What can we do? Water filters. This being a part of gut health as an overall well-being. And again, we will address this in other calls.
Yeah, I think it's very important that people now more than ever have to become more conscientious about being and dealing with the doctor within. In other words, you have to be really become the responsible primary person to take care of your health and utilize practitioners, such as your medical doctor, chiropractic physician, osteopath, herbalist, acupuncturist, as definitely people to go and guide with. But you got to become focused on what you can do to help yourself because you got to live with you. You're not going to be with your doctor or on a regular basis. You have to do everything you can to be a healthy person. And one of the things I pride myself on is trying to help people get to a better understanding of that. Not just help them through it, but then it goes back. Give a man a fish, he eats today. Teach a man a fish, he eats for life. And I think it's a very important factor and one that is needed now more than ever, as I said.
Awesome.
Well, thanks once again. You be well.